Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 26. As promised, today we will concentrate our attention on electrifying the rail network up until the border, and near the end, only the Utegrad branch will be left. I'm really glad to see the electrification will be done in 2 episodes. In the meantime, we will continue working on S2E26, adding some more decorations, and we will expand the housing with 2 more blocks. Oh, and we will start using some personal vehicles, but no one really cares about that. Right? Before we do anything else, let's make sure we reach the railroad power source first. It would be a shame if we got to the customs house first, and only then realize that we still don't have power on the network. Also, I sometimes play a little extra after I stop recording, so I can come up with ideas. Don't worry, I never save those. The only time you didn't see something was when I did that time skip to build up some money. Anyways, I did notice the last time that 2 tiny rail segments on this junction are not yet marked for upgrade, so let's fix that. There. Now the track layers have a clean way until the border. I would like to know when the last pieces are done, so I enabled notifications on the last segments. While all that is going on, let's turn our attention to the town. As soon as this kindergarten is complete, we can delete the other one, and build a car park in its place. You know what, close enough. And for the first time ever, I finally remembered to take a look at the skins on these buildings. Anyways, we already have a parking lot at the power plant. We only need 1 more near the houses. We still need a car dealership, but we will deal with that a little later in this episode. First, let's take care of the houses. For the sake of symmetry, I ended up using that neat ruler tool, to make sure the spacing is consistent. I decided to just keep using the same housing block model for this district. We can change it up when we leave this place. I didn't want to only build one, and there wasn't enough space to make everything perfectly aligned, so this last one will be a bit off-grid. I think it's fine, it's noticeable, but it blends in with the terrain, so it still looks okay. At first, I didn't want to build them, only the footpaths leading to them. Once those are done, then we can check the walkability, and only then start using resources. While those footpaths were being built, I went around town and started playing around with the building skins a little, just so we have fewer gray rectangles everywhere. I think the last one left is the university. We will end up building a second one today, and I will remember it then, so it won't be left out. Also, we have quite a few tiny little complaints from citizens in a few buildings. I suspect it's a leftover from the times when we accidentally cut power to the place. These will go away in a couple minutes. And look, no more lightning bolt symbols on the tracks. The track layers managed to connect up to the power source for the rail network. And it's time for another loan repayment. But when we reach the point where we can start buying the locomotives and wagons for the RDOs, then we will need to take one out. We are still waiting around, so how about we deal with this housing block's front entrance? It's been looking pretty barren for quite a while now. Let's start with the flower beds right away, so the asphalt walkways are easier to place. So far so good. Let's place the asphalt next. Next, we should cap off the ends of these areas in between the entrances. They are a bit too narrow for the long pieces, but perfect for two of the shorter ones. I am at the point now where I stopped zooming in on fires. I just check the locations, and if it's in an area I know is safe, I just let it play out in the background. I think the next time I will follow a firefighting vehicle will be when we start using helicopters for the job. Anyway, let's quickly go over the flower beds, and mix up the colors a bit, so they are not all red. Yeah, that looks nice. Sadly, the space in between them is too small to bring back the grass. This is where those grass planters would have come in handy. A bit of a shame about those. We can still mask the brown dirt with some trees and bushes though. Okay, the footpaths for the new houses are done. Let's check the walkability. It looks more or less okay. They can reach most of the important services, except for the university. Before we get to it, let's check on the progress on the railroad. It's getting there. At this point, the biggest hurdle is the prefab panels. The steel supply is fine, but we still need to import the other stuff from the border, and that takes time. Anyways, let's build a second small college. The other one is out of reach for the local buildings, and that is getting overloaded, so it won't hurt to have a second one. One last double check on the walkability, and then we can start building the new houses. I still ended up disallowing people from moving in yet. Once they are complete, we will let a small control group in, just to make it extra doubly sure things are okay. And with that, it was time to finally build the car dealership. We have the parking infrastructure, time to start using them. By the way, there was a great suggestion to name these two track layers in the last episode's comment section. Red Star and Blue Moon. Sadly, I forgot to do it today, but maybe I will remember it in the next one. I tried to see what those translate to in Ukrainian, and Red Star had a proper translation, but for some reason Google Translate only gave me Blue Moon back. Oh well, I'll just use English. Dang, I was hoping Blue Moon would decide to teleport home. There was a tiny little traffic backlog there for a second. But as long as it clears up by itself, it's fine. Anyways, good thing we stopped here, got reminded that we still need to deal with some tree replanting. Almost forgot about this. We still need 2 small monuments in this plaza we built in the last episode. We have a small selection to choose from. I wanted it to be symmetrical, so I placed the same one on both sides. Good thing we have these faint lines on the textures. Perfect for lining things up. There was still room for things around these parts, so how about a small volleyball court? We have football, tennis, basketball, but no volleyball. Nope, I will not stand for that kind of clipping. That one looks better. Since this area is lower down than the housing block on the hill, I think we can fill in this area with some dense beech trees. One of the few places where it makes sense. Let's see if we can replace those trees we deleted by placing the car park. Would you look at that? We could replant them. Things are going really well on the railroad. The Kirkimov branch is almost done, and most of the main line is also complete. We are getting real close to be able to buy the first proper train. And the car dealership is complete. Before we buy the first personal vehicles, let's make sure only those can get one that deserve it. Had to check the power plant. It seems people with basic education are allowed to work there, so we don't need to restrict car access to college graduates only. We can just set that to prefer highly educated people, but no need to exclude others. As for loyalty, we just go with anyone above 50. Pretty much everyone is above 60% at this point, so it makes little difference. Alrighty, let's get the first batch of cars. I just went ahead and bought 8 of them, not really going for anything in particular. Variety is the spice of life after all. We only have space for 8 at the moment, so once those are gone, we can buy the next batch. I think those small monuments are a tiny bit misaligned. But it's barely noticeable, so I will leave it be. And complaints about access to services is pretty much gone altogether. Must have been that momentary power outage. Now, this is what I will definitely delete in the next episode. I wanted to see how one of those roundabout centerpieces would look in this empty space. All by themselves, they would look great, but that extra ground texture around them are a real deal breaker. I still let it build, but it will end up looking real bad. And look, we have cars running on the roads now. Another milestone achieved. And one of the new houses got finished. As I've said, I will let a small control group take up residence, and if they don't complain about their place in the city, I will open the floodgates. And would you look at that? Pretty much everything got built in between the RDOs and the border. Only a couple segments remain. And the second house is done too. Same thing. A small control group will test the place out, and will open it if they are satisfied. And it seems the first batch of cars got bought. Time for the next one. But before I could commit to it, I got distracted. Now, I could have started buying trains right now, but I will get to it in a second. Since the way between the two important destinations was now clear, we could move on to electrifying the rest of the network. Before I could start buying the new trains, I got distracted. Again. Okay, look at this. Feels completely out of place. I didn't want to see if those textures could be deleted. I caused too many crashes by messing around with baked-in asphalt textures before, so I didn't want to risk it during a live recording. I will check if it can be removed without issues, and if not, then we will just build something else there. Anyways, cars seem to be working quite nicely. And this new university, it barely got built, and it's already overloaded. As long as we get enough educated citizens, then I don't really mind. And it finally reminded me that we should set the teacher loyalty to at least 65%. It only really makes a difference in the early days. Now that everyone is equally loyal, it's just a formality. Okay, time to at long last buy the second batch of personal cars. Same as before, a random selection. so we don't see the same car drive down the road all the time. And that was a mistake. I accidentally set the track layer display to be upgraded. But you know what, it still looks okay to me. It only added 2 more yellow construction signs to it, but we already had the red stop train alert already, so 2 more won't make a difference. Still looks good from ground level too. Okay, time for that train already. Sadly, they are quite expensive, and since nobody wants to wait for our bank balance to be big enough, let's just take out a loan. I have a soft spot for this polished PW, so let's use that. For now, I only bought one. If we only have one proper train running on the network, we don't need to worry about signals just yet. As for wagons, let's just go for aggregate and liquid cars to start out with. 6 of each will be plenty enough for now. And another epidemic hits. Nothing our healthcare system cannot handle. We've had worse outbreaks before. We only had money for 6 tanker wagons. Only need to wait a little before we can afford the last one. No need for another loan for this. Anyways, time to start moving the cars to the distribution office. And that's what the locomotive is for. We just need to tell it to pick things up at the border, drop them off at the switch yard, and that's that. Once this track layer is no longer in the way, we can get this party started. There, better. Due to length restrictions, we can only pick up so many cars in one go. It will take at least 3 trips to get all of them in place. It's always a big moment for me when I see the first proper train on the network. I'm sure I'm not alone in that sentiment. Anyways, that's one set of cars delivered. Let's go pick up the next batch. And we can now afford to buy the 6th tanker wagon, so let's do that too. Yep, only 2 hopper cars remain. 3 trips, as promised. And look, we have Icarus buses now. Good times are ahead. Alright. With the last 2 wagons attached, we can tell the locomotive to just park itself at the distribution office now. No need to run this route a 4th time. And that's taken care of. Only one thing remains, and that's the electrification of the actual branches that have the pickup points on them. Unfortunately, that will only be done in the next episode. Without this work being done, we cannot assign the different stations for the offices. We could designate the drop-off points, most of those are already good to go, but for some reason, I prefer to start with the pickups, and end with the drop-off stations. Anyways, the only complaint we have in the new houses, apart from the usual 2, is one person's griping about sports. But we have enough facilities nearby, so that must have been a fluke. Let's just open the floodgates. We have plenty of people waiting for housing. And before we close things out, let's just give the 2 university building a new coat of paint. Speaking of the universities, now that we have 2 of them, maybe we should take care of the research now. We won't be doing any of the related industries just yet, but might as well get them done before they become relevant. Anyways, time to end the episode. The Utegrad branch is already being upgraded, and will be done pretty soon. Once that's taken care of, we can move on to building the coastal ride into the mainland. The next episode will most likely deal with that, as well as the organization of the local train distribution. For that, we still need a couple more wagon types, open hull, box cars, dry bulk carriers, things like that. We also need to connect the Satsumagrad steel mill to the rail network, and it's on a tall hill, so it might need some extra planning. And I will also try to see if we can hook up the farm warehouse too, although that one is less important. And while the coastal railroad is being built, we can finish building Estergrad. We still need a second bus station at the other end of town, near the second set of bridges, so we can take the strain off the first one a little. Once that's done, we can increase the frequency of the buses running around, taking care of the staffing issues in the surrounding industries. We still have the waterfront to finish, we have room for more houses and services, so yeah, the place is not finished yet, obviously. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, then leaving a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. If you are more in the donating mood, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description, where you can buy me a glass of water. I don't really drink coffee. Thank you for your support, and until next time, I will see you later.